I need you to reconsider everything you think you know about this yellow fruit sitting in your kitchen right now. Because what I'm about to reveal to you isn't just going to change your breakfast routine, it's going to fundamentally shift how you think about aging, disease prevention, and the power of simple foods to literally rebuild your body from the inside out. Most people think bananas are nothing more than a quick energy boost for athletes or a soft food for babies. Most people are missing the profound truth that medical research has been quietly documenting for decades. And that truth could add years of vitality, independence, and cognitive clarity to your life. I'm Dr. Mehmet, and over the past 30 years of clinical practice in functional medicine and longevity research, I've witnessed something remarkable. Patients who make small, consistent nutritional changes based on actual science, not food trends or marketing hype, experience transformations that their primary care physicians often describe as improbable. Today I'm going to share one of those changes with you, and it starts with eating one banana every single day. Before we dive in, let me tell you about research from Stanford University School of Medicine that tracked over 90,000 adults for more than 2 decades. The findings were striking. Individuals who consistently consumed high-potassium foods, and bananas rank among the absolute highest sources available, showed a 31% reduction in stroke risk compared to those with minimal potassium intake. 31%. That's not a marginal improvement. That's the kind of risk reduction most medications would celebrate on their label. Now, I'm going to make you a promise right now. If you stay with me until the very end of this video, I'm going to reveal the number one most powerful thing that happens to your body when you eat one banana daily. And it has absolutely nothing to do with energy, nothing to do with potassium, and when I share it with my patients, the most common response I get is stunned silence followed by, "Why has no one ever told me this before?" So stay locked in, because that revelation is worth your time. But first, I want to hear from you personally. Drop a comment below right now and tell me, how old are you, and what's the single biggest health concern keeping you up at night? Is it your blood pressure, your memory, your joint pain, your blood sugar? I personally read every comment on this channel, every single one, and your answers directly influence the content I create because this is meant to be a genuine conversation between a physician and people who deserve honest, science-backed information. Today we're counting down from number 6 all the way to number 1. These are the 6 most transformative things that occur in your body when you consume just one banana every day, and they're ranked from impressive to absolutely life-altering. Let's get started. Number 6 addresses something that happens quietly and progressively after age 60, and it's something most people never connect to a simple dietary choice. I'm talking about the gradual breakdown of your digestive tract's ability to function properly. Here's what happens. After 65, your intestinal motility, which is the muscular wave action that propels food through your system, decreases by nearly 50% in many individuals. The result is chronic constipation, uncomfortable bloating, reduced nutrient extraction, and a domino effect of inflammatory signals that radiate from your gut into every other system in your body, including your joints, your cardiovascular system, and your brain. Your digestive tract isn't just a processing plant. Modern science now recognizes it as the headquarters of your immune response and a direct communication line to your central nervous system through what researchers call the microbiota gut-brain connection. One medium banana delivers roughly 3.5 grams of dietary fiber, a strategic blend of soluble and insoluble types that work through completely different but complementary mechanisms. Think of insoluble fiber as a scrub brush moving through your intestines, physically clearing debris and reducing the time harmful compounds spend in contact with your intestinal lining. The longer waste materials sit stagnant, the higher your risk of cellular damage and mutation. Soluble fiber functions more like a gel, expanding as it absorbs water and creating a smooth, controlled release of nutrients into your bloodstream rather than sudden spikes. This dual fiber approach becomes especially critical as you age because your gut microbiome, that ecosystem of trillions of microorganisms living inside you, loses significant diversity after 70. Research from Trinity College Dublin found that elderly individuals with depleted microbial diversity exhibited higher rates of physical frailty, systemic inflammation, and memory deterioration compared to those maintaining robust bacterial populations. Bananas, particularly when they're slightly firm with green-tinged ends, contain what scientists call resistant starch. This is a unique form of carbohydrate that your digestive enzymes can't dismantle, which means it arrives intact in your colon, where it becomes nourishment for your beneficial bacteria. You're literally feeding the protective organisms that control everything from your emotional state to your immune response to your metabolic rate. Investigators at King's College London demonstrated that resistant starch consumption significantly boosted populations of bifidobacterium and lactobacillus, two of the most health-promoting bacterial strains identified in human research, in participants who consumed it consistently for just 6 weeks. The practical application here is straightforward. Eat your banana in the morning alongside breakfast and select one that's still slightly firm rather than completely spotted. Pair it with 2 tablespoons of plain kefir to introduce live probiotic cultures alongside the resistant starch. That combination creates a synergistic effect that's remarkably powerful for restoring gut diversity, especially if you've recently completed a course of antibiotics that indiscriminately wiped out your bacterial populations. Coming in at number 5 is something that will resonate deeply if you've ever experienced muscle cramps in the middle of the night so severe they woke you from sleep, or if you've watched your blood pressure numbers climb despite genuine efforts to control them. Number 5 is the cardiovascular and neuromuscular protection delivered by the exceptional potassium density in a single banana. One medium banana contains roughly 432 milligrams of potassium, representing approximately 13% of the recommended daily intake for older adults. That figure might seem unremarkable until you understand this critical fact. The overwhelming majority of Americans over 60 are living in a state of chronic potassium depletion, not borderline deficiency, severe, ongoing depletion, and the medical consequences are devastating. Potassium functions as what scientists term an electrolyte, a mineral carrying electrical charge within your cells. Picture it as the electrical infrastructure of your entire body. Every heartbeat is orchestrated by a precise dance of potassium and sodium moving across your cardiac muscle cell membranes. When potassium levels drop too low, that electrical coordination becomes unstable and your heart can develop life-threatening arrhythmias. A comprehensive meta-analysis published in Stroke, a journal of the American Heart Association, examined data from over 270,000 participants and discovered that inadequate potassium intake was independently linked to a 24% higher stroke risk and a marked elevation in atrial fibrillation risk, the most prevalent heart rhythm disturbance in people over 65. But potassium's muscular impact extends far beyond cardiac tissue. After 70, a condition called sarcopenia, the age-related disappearance of muscle mass, accelerates alarmingly. Your body sheds approximately 1 to 3% of its muscle tissue annually after 65. And this isn't merely about physical strength. Muscle mass directly determines your metabolic efficiency, your bone strength, your stability, and ultimately your independence. The reason older adults are so susceptible to potassium deficiency involves multiple factors. Many hypertension medications, especially diuretics, accelerate potassium loss through urination faster than dietary intake can compensate. Simultaneously, aging kidneys become less capable of maintaining potassium equilibrium, and aging intestines absorb it less effectively. This is precisely why whole food sources of potassium, bioavailable and naturally packaged like bananas, often outperform isolated supplements for older adults. The potassium in a banana arrives with complementary compounds that enhance absorption and cellular utilization in ways synthetic pills cannot duplicate. Consume your banana with a small handful of sunflower seeds, which are exceptionally rich in magnesium. Magnesium and potassium work in tandem. Magnesium is essential for keeping potassium anchored inside your cells rather than leaking into your bloodstream. This pairing dramatically amplifies the cardiovascular and muscular benefits of both minerals. Number 4 is where things become truly fascinating, and this one speaks directly to anyone who has walked into a room and completely forgotten their purpose, or struggled to retrieve a familiar name that once came effortlessly. Number 4 is the neuroprotective advantage that daily banana consumption provides your aging brain through mechanisms that represent some of the most promising neuroscience research happening today. Your brain, despite comprising only 2% of your body mass, demands approximately 25% of your total oxygen and glucose supply. It's the most energy-intensive organ you possess. And after 60, your brain's capacity to efficiently metabolize glucose, its preferred fuel source, begins deteriorating. This condition, which scientists at Johns Hopkins have characterized as a form of neuronal insulin resistance, leaves brain cells progressively starved for energy even when blood glucose appears normal. The outcome over years is the mental cloudiness, the memory gaps, and the cognitive exhaustion that so many of my patients describe as their most terrifying aspect of aging. Bananas contain substantial amounts of vitamin B6, also called pyridoxine, with a single banana supplying approximately 22 to 28% of the daily recommended intake for adults over 60. Here's why this matters profoundly. Vitamin B6 serves as an essential cofactor in producing three of the most vital neurotransmitters in your nervous system: serotonin, dopamine, and gamma-aminobutyric acid, or GABA. Neurotransmitters are the chemical messengers your neurons use for communication. Think of them as the language your brain speaks to itself. Without sufficient B6, that language becomes fragmented and unclear. Serotonin regulates mood equilibrium and sleep architecture. Dopamine controls motivation, pleasure response, and coordinated movement. GABA functions as your nervous system's primary brake pedal, preventing neuronal overexcitation. Research published in Psychosomatic Medicine tracked adults over 70 and found that those with optimal vitamin B6 levels demonstrated markedly superior performance on memory assessments, processing speed evaluations, and executive function tests compared to those with lower B6 status. The investigators concluded that even moderate improvements in B6 could measurably decelerate age-related cognitive deterioration. Beyond B6, bananas provide tryptophan, an amino acid that serves as the building block for serotonin synthesis. This explains why many people notice that eating a banana in late afternoon or early evening produces a calming effect and improves sleep onset. After 75, sleep architecture undergoes significant disruption. The deep restorative sleep phases become abbreviated and fragmented, with cascading consequences for memory consolidation, immune function, and cardiovascular repair. Pair your afternoon banana with a cup of chamomile tea. Chamomile contains apigenin, a compound that works synergistically with banana-derived tryptophan to promote relaxed alertness without sedation. This combination has been studied specifically in Mediterranean populations where both foods are dietary staples, and the cognitive aging outcomes have been remarkably protective. Right now, before we reach number 3, if you're finding genuine value in this information, please take 1 second to click the like button and subscribe to this channel. Every subscription tells the platform to share this content with more people who need access to real science explained clearly. We're building something important here, and your participation matters. Number 3 addresses what I consider the silent epidemic destroying quality of life for virtually everyone over 65, yet it's almost never discussed in connection with something as ordinary as a banana. I'm referring to systemic inflammation, the invisible fire smoldering inside your body that drives arthritis, heart disease, neurodegeneration, metabolic dysfunction, and malignancy. Chronic low-intensity inflammation is, according to leading researchers at the National Institute on Aging, the single most significant biological accelerator of the aging process. Scientists have created a term for it: inflammaging, the persistent state of immune activation that intensifies after 60 and contributes simultaneously to virtually every major age-related disease. After 65, your body's regulatory systems for controlling inflammation become less precise, and your immune system begins generating inflammatory signals even without genuine threats. This is partially driven by declining production of compounds called short-chain fatty acids, and this is where bananas' resistant starch becomes critically relevant again. When beneficial bacteria in your colon ferment resistant starch from bananas, one of the primary products generated is a short-chain fatty acid called butyrate. Butyrate is among the most potent anti-inflammatory molecules produced anywhere in your body. It directly suppresses activation of NF-kappa B, a master switch inside your cells that, when unregulated, activates hundreds of genes linked to inflammation, cellular aging, and cancer development. Scientists at the Max Planck Institute demonstrated that butyrate could extend healthy cellular lifespan in experimental models by dampening this inflammatory cascade. Subsequent human trials have connected higher butyrate production to reduced levels of interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor alpha, two primary markers of systemic inflammation. But bananas offer an additional anti-inflammatory pathway through their catechin and dopamine content. Yes, bananas contain dopamine, not the neurotransmitter form affecting mood, but the antioxidant form that circulates as a powerful free radical neutralizer. Research from the Institute of Food Technologists found that the antioxidant capacity of bananas rivaled many foods marketed as superfoods, with catechins and dopamine providing measurable protection against oxidative damage to cholesterol molecules, the process that initiates arterial plaque formation. Let me tell you about a patient. I'll call him David, a 68-year-old former construction worker from Michigan. David came to me with debilitating osteoarthritis, knee pain so severe he couldn't climb stairs, and inflammation markers so elevated his rheumatologist was recommending aggressive pharmaceutical intervention. Over 4 months of dietary restructuring, including 1 banana every morning with walnuts and turmeric tea, David's inflammatory markers dropped by 41%. His knee pain decreased enough that he resumed his morning walks with his dog. He told me recently that he's planning a hiking trip with his grandson. That's not a minor improvement. That's life-changing. Pair your banana with fresh turmeric root, either grated into warm almond milk or consumed alongside. Turmeric contains curcumin, one of the most extensively researched anti-inflammatory compounds in nutritional science. Combined with banana-derived butyrate and antioxidants, this pairing targets inflammation through multiple independent biological pathways simultaneously. Number 2 is the benefit that, in my experience, surprises patients most because it completely contradicts what they've been told about this fruit and blood sugar. I'm talking about glucose regulation, and before you dismiss this because you've heard bananas spike blood sugar, please stay with me because the science is far more sophisticated and encouraging than mainstream advice suggests. Yes, ripe bananas contain natural sugars. A fully ripe banana has a glycemic index around 54, which falls in the medium range, lower than whole wheat bread, lower than most breakfast cereals marketed as diabetic-friendly. But the critical variable rarely discussed is glycemic load, which accounts for actual carbohydrate quantity per serving and absorption rate. A single medium banana has a glycemic load of approximately 12, which metabolic researchers categorize as low, moderate, and entirely appropriate for most adults, including those with prediabetes, when consumed strategically. More importantly, the resistant starch in slightly underripe bananas fundamentally alters the metabolic equation. Resistant starch bypasses digestion in the small intestine. It doesn't trigger insulin secretion. It doesn't elevate blood glucose. In fact, research published in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that consuming resistant starch improved insulin sensitivity in metabolic syndrome patients by an average of 38% over 12 weeks. This is vital for older adults because after 60, insulin sensitivity declines steadily due to muscle loss, reduced activity, mitochondrial dysfunction, and chronic inflammation. The less muscle you retain, the less efficiently glucose is stored, and the harder your pancreas must work. It becomes a destructive cycle. A banana consumed slightly underripe and paired with protein can actually interrupt that cycle. The fiber and resistant starch slow gastric emptying, flattening the post-meal glucose curve rather than creating spikes and crashes. Research at Loma Linda University published in Nutrition Research found that combining resistant starch with lean protein reduced post-meal glucose elevation by 32% compared to equivalent meals without resistant starch. Always pair your banana with protein and healthy fat. 2 tablespoons of cashew butter, mixed nuts, or Greek yogurt. The protein and fat further moderate glucose absorption and enhance satiety, preventing overeating later. Let me share about a patient named Thomas, 71, a retired accountant from Arizona who came to me with an A1C of 7.1%, firmly diabetic, and already on medication. Over 7 months of comprehensive dietary changes, including 1 slightly firm banana each morning with peanut butter and eggs, Thomas's A1C dropped to 6.2%. His endocrinologist reduced his medication by half. Thomas just celebrated his 75th birthday medication-free. And now, here it is. Number 1. The benefit I promised would shock you, that has nothing to do with potassium or energy, and that genuinely astonishes my patients when I explain it. Number 1 is the profound protection daily banana consumption provides your musculoskeletal system through optimization of magnesium-dependent processes critical for preserving bone density and muscle integrity in aging bodies. A single banana contains approximately 37 milligrams of magnesium. That number alone isn't the story. The story is what magnesium does at the molecular level for people over 65, specifically regarding anabolic resistance. Anabolic resistance is the age-related decline in your body's ability to build and repair muscle tissue in response to protein and exercise. At 25, when you consume protein, your muscles respond powerfully, absorbing amino acids and synthesizing new tissue efficiently. After 65, that response diminishes by 40 to 45%. After 75, it declines further. Magnesium is essential for over 300 enzymatic reactions, but its role in muscle protein synthesis is critical. Magnesium activates insulin-like growth factor 1, a primary anabolic hormone. It enables ribosome function, the cellular machinery that builds proteins, and it's required for ATP production, the energy currency powering every cellular process. Without adequate magnesium, cells cannot manufacture ATP efficiently. Without ATP, muscle cells cannot perform, repair, or grow. Research from the University of Milan followed over 1,700 adults aged 65 and older for 5 years. Those with highest dietary magnesium intake had significantly greater grip strength, gait speed, and lower body performance compared to deficient peers. They also had measurably higher bone mineral density. After 65, bone density declines 1 to 3% yearly, directly correlating with fracture risk, the leading cause of lost independence in adults over 70. But bananas deliver magnesium in a uniquely bioavailable matrix. They also contain vitamin B6, which enhances magnesium absorption across the intestinal wall. Additionally, bananas contain fructooligosaccharides, prebiotic fibers that lower colonic pH, further enhancing mineral absorption including magnesium and calcium. Eat your banana alongside a serving of wild-caught mackerel or anchovies. The omega-3 fatty acids reduce inflammation, which is a primary driver of anabolic resistance. When you reduce inflammation, you restore muscle cells' ability to respond to protein and exercise. Combined with magnesium-supported ATP production, you have a genuinely powerful intervention for preserving muscle and bone. Pair this with just 25 minutes of resistance training 3 times weekly, and research from the University of Alabama shows this combination can reverse measurable muscle loss in adults into their mid-80s. Reverse it, not slow it. Reverse it. We live in a culture that treats aging like inevitable decline, where after a certain point, the best we can hope for is symptom management. I'm here to tell you that the research fundamentally contradicts that resignation. The science supports action. 1 banana every day. It's not magic, but it's real. It's accessible, it's affordable, and it's supported by decades of rigorous investigation. Whether you're 63 or 83, whether you're managing hypertension or protecting cognition, whether you're working to keep muscles strong enough to stay independent or bones dense enough to avoid catastrophic fractures, this single humble fruit, consumed consistently and strategically, can be a meaningful component of your longevity strategy. If today's video provided value, please subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss new content. We publish evidence-based information for adults navigating their 60s, 70s, and 80s every week. No hype, just science in plain language. And I'll end with this question for the comments. Have you ever been told to avoid bananas? What were you told and why? I'm genuinely curious, and I read every comment personally. Until next time, take care of your body. It's carried you this far, and with the right information, it will carry you so much further.